What captured your curiosity or imagination when you were young?
We didn't really watch that much TV, and I'm a TV producer now, so it's weird. We read a lot of books. We were at the library a lot. My mom took us to the library, and if we did have the TV on, we were watching like VHSs from the library. And I can give you a direct example.
Please.
So, like I said, I'm the oldest of 3 sisters. So I used to like direct shows. I can like literally imagine it right now. In our basement, we'd build the stage. I would, design the outfits. I had a really good friend she was my creative partner, and it would to take the edge off of like our day jobs in creative industries. We would create stuff together. We would write together. We would we were able to be each other's creative outlet. She passed away quite suddenly.
You got to earn a living, so I'm gonna be a producer on these shows. Do you have any in your back pocket that you want to do?
Yeah, and I just mentioned my friend. Her name was Amelia. I stopped pitching when she passed away. And that's something that I'm working on.
Every life is shaped by a story we tell ourselves about who we are. And sometimes that story changes. Camille Lawrence is an award-winning unscripted story producer whose work has helped shape some of Canada's most recognized television series. Over the past decade, she has helped bring stories to life on shows like The Amazing Race Canada, Master Chef Canada, Still Standing, Fear Factor, House of Fear, and more. Working behind the camera to find the moments that reveal who people truly are. But what makes Camille exceptional isn't just the shows she's worked on, it's her instinct for story. As a story producer, interviewer, director, and creative collaborator, Camille spends her days listening closely, searching for the moment where a person's identity reveals itself on screen. Because the most powerful stories are never just about what people do. They're about who people believe themselves to be. And when you spend your career helping others tell their stories, it inevitably raises a deeper question. How do you see yourself? Today, Camille joins the Who Project to reflect on the path that led her behind the camera, the moments that shaped how she understands identity, and what happens when the stories we tell about ourselves begin to change. Because the Who Project is not about what people do, it's about how self-perception changes who they become. Camille.
Hello.
Welcome. And thank you for joining me today on the Who Project. You've built a fascinating career. Wow. In television and specifically unscripted television producer, correct?
That's right.
Yeah. So you help shape stories, yes?
I do.
Man. But you know what? What's interesting for me is it's more about someone's journey, right? More than what they do specifically.
Uh-huh.
So, today I want to talk more about who you are as a person and less about what you do. Not that it's not important, but wherever I start these stories, I love to start with family. I'd love to start with your origin, right? So when you think back to your environment where you grew up, the people, the energy, the house that shaped you early on, what kind of world were you growing up in?
So my sisters and I, we always say that we grew up in like such an idyllic family, right? Like my friends used to say, you grew up in a house like a TV family.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like my parents were 2 parents at home.
Yeah.
We played sports. We did gymnastics and dance and art classes and babysitting courses and all those like kid stuff that you do. And I don't think that we really, until we got older, understood that not all of our friends had that same type of family structure or like opportunities to do so.
When did you realize that?
In university.
Really?
I think. Yeah. I mean, in high school and elementary school, we always had a lot of friends over at our house. So like after school, my mom would we had a lot of play dates at our house. Okay. And like my mom was also a stay-at-home mom for a lot of the time. So my mom was like around. Stay-at-home moms, like I don't know if that's a thing anymore.
I still know if it is.
Yeah.
Can people afford it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so like that's how we were able to go to a lot of our activities and stuff like that. And then it switched in our teens where my dad started a business and he worked from home before work from home was a thing. Right. And so we kind of always had a parent at home. And so like as a teenager, it's kind of lame because like your parents are always around. But then now that I think back on it, I was like, it was actually a blessing to have my parents around a lot because they would pick us up, drop us off, and not just pick us up, they would pick up all of our friends, drop off all of our friends, be around for the awards and the trips for like soccer or dance or whatever. And so I think we we like to say we grew up in like a happy TV family type of household. Yeah.
The Huxtables.
Yeah.
It was interesting about what you just said is because that was going to be, the tail end of my question was going to be really about your values and the values in your home. Can you expand on that a little bit? Like, because you're talking about, having both parents present, which is amazing, but what kind of values did they instill in you guys?
So the way I talk about this now as an adult is definitely differently than how I would speak about it back then. Back then, and like I said, like it wasn't truly cool to have my parents around all the time. My parents were also really strict. Like I did soccer and dance and all these extracurriculars, but I wasn't allowed to go to school dances. And I had to be home like after school. If I wasn't at school for like student council or whatever, I was like home. And so like I think the values that it instilled in us is like where is best to spend our time. Like as a teen, kids want to go to the mall. Like I wasn't allowed to go to the mall because my mom didn't want us loitering. Right?
I'm laughing because I'm like, man, that sounds a lot like my life.
Yeah. Well, and back then it felt like, oh my gosh, you just don't understand. Like I just want to go and hang out with my friends. But when I'm thinking about it now, it probably wasn't the best use of my time.
So do you think they were trying to protect you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think because we had so many friends over and like a lot of things were at our house, they wanted to just make sure that like we were in a bit of a bubble, right? That we weren't exposed to now as an adult. I understand why they wanted to keep us close. And then like kind of like let us out when it came to our activities. We were heavily activity kids. So the time we were spending out was like for something.
Yeah.
And it's for developing a skill or like, yes, having fun, but like becoming a better human at something.
So it sounds very much like my upbringing. And so and almost mirroring that, like you do with your parents, right? When you have kids, you look at the way you were raised, and then I like to say, you strip away all the stuff that you didn't see value in, and you work really, really diligently at the good things that they did.
Yeah.
So in my mind's eye, right, like doing what your parents just did is like having the kids over, right? That was part and parcel of, designing, the house in our mind, right? As a central place for the kids to come. Wow.
Well, I will say that like I'm the oldest daughter.
Oh.
So, my experience is very different than my youngest sister, where I said I wasn't allowed to go to school dances. Like by the time she came around, they were like, I wasn't allowed to go out for Halloween. By the time she came around, they were like, yeah, let's go get a costume. You know what I mean? So I think my experience was like,
oh, laughing.
I was like, they were like learning how to have a kid.
The first is always the hardest. 100%.
And I get that now. We butt heads a lot when I was coming up as a teenager. So I think that definitely informs my 20s. Because I was like, the bubble, looking back on it, was very safe and it was very happy. It was very fun. But then when you want your autonomy, I think that definitely informs who I am now, being held very close.
As my question, I'm listening to you speak and I'm thinking to myself, you traveled.
So I didn't just travel. I know. You're dead. Dipped out.
It's all making sense now. Oh my God, it's all making sense. Wow. Oh my God. Okay. We can go down that path.
Yeah.
What captured your curiosity or imagination when you were young?
We didn't really watch that much TV. And I'm a TV producer now. So it's weird. We read a lot of books. We were at the library a lot. My mom took us to the library. And if we did have the TV on, we were watching like VHSs from the library. So we read a lot of books. Saturday mornings, I would like go downstairs in the basement and like create something. I would paint, or I used to want to be a fashion designer. So like sometimes I would like go and take, when we used to have plastic garbage bags, I go and take plastic garbage bags and I like make a wedding dress out of it and like, use my baby sister as the model. Or like we would make up dances, or like not just make up dances, we would like build a stage out of boxes and like make up dances and like produce full shows. And, like we had a lot of home time to just like entertain ourselves. And being of 3 girls, I think we found a lot of creativity in one another.
You know what's really interesting about this interview thus far is that you're like answering the questions before I ask them.
Really?
That's hilarious. Because I'm sitting here going, okay, so was creativity part of your youth
absolutely.
and storytelling?
Yeah.
And you guys were doing that.
And I can give you a direct example.
Please.
So, like I said, I'm the oldest of 3 sisters. So I used to like direct shows. I can like literally imagine it right now. In our basement, we'd build the stage. I would, design the outfits. My sister, Catherine, my middle sister, she was really into gymnastics. She went to like provincial level gymnast and also track and soccer. So she would like train us, like literally we had to do strength and conditioning. We're like 9. Strength and conditioning with Kat to be able to perform our dances. So like she would like stretch us and like we would do strength training. Wow. And then we would like, I also did cheerleading back in the day. So we would practice our cheerleading, like literally lifting my baby sister, sometimes injuring her, but she would train us on how to do that for our show. And then my youngest sister is a hairstylist. She would like beauty us, like make us look nice, like do our hair, like design. And so we were doing that, but we were like little, And so I think before any of us knew about like what we wanted to be, we were like playing it.
Seems that way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Looking back now, what early influences shaped how you see the world today?
Yeah. So in my family, we have a tradition where it's like when you turn 13, you get to take a plane ride by yourself to visit one of my aunts. My mom's the oldest of 6 sisters total. So I'm the oldest niece, and so I was first. But I grew up getting postcards from my aunts. Postcard from Nepal, postcard from Kenya, postcard from South Africa, Japan, Mexico. I grew up getting all these postcards. And like my aunts like traveled the world. And so travel just never really seemed like a big deal. Like nowhere seemed really far to me as a kid. And my aunts are like these like wonderful Black women who just are like so creative and, like traveled and just brought us back gifts. We got kimonos and fans and cool pajamas from different places around the world. And I used to like bring them in as show and tell. Like my aunt went to, I don't know, Thailand, and she brought us back blah, blah, blah. Or like my mom went to Paris for the weekend and she brought us back blah, blah, blah with her sisters. Wow. So I feel like the world never seemed super big and unattainable. So that when it was finally time to travel, I was like, yeah, I can go to,
I love that.
Vietnam. Like, my aunt's been just down the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no fear.
Yeah, and taking that trip when you're 13 by yourself to visit another aunt, sitting on the plane by yourself, and like that. Yeah, my aunt's on the other side waiting for me. But it is a bit of. I went to Edmonton, and I went to West Edmonton Mall. It was the biggest mall I've ever seen. They had 2 Claire's, and I was like, oh my god, there's 2 Claire's.
Biggest mall, yeah, it is the biggest mall. Wow.
Yeah, but it just demystifies space, and it demystifies like. Probably a generation previous, my mom who immigrated from Jamaica and, my grandparents probably wouldn't have had that same idea of travel and space and like ability and belonging to like exist here and also exist elsewhere.
Well, your parents seem very intentional in everything that they were doing.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if sometimes I feel like they were figuring it out, and other times I think it was absolutely intentional.
So maybe there were some pillars, if you will, things that they said, okay, we got to do this, this, and that, right? And then there's other things, of course, because nobody bats 100, right? So they're not going to be perfect because nobody is. But what I'm hearing so far in our conversation, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they were shepherding you towards life and being very intentional about it.
Yeah.
You just blew me away with the 13-year-old on a plane by yourself.
And all of us, like now, all of the cousins, every year, one of them either so they come to us or they go to Boston. There's Winnipeg. There's, Edmonton. So like they're all. It still happens with all the cousins. You go on your 13th birthday on a trip.
May I ask whose idea was that? Was it the sisters? They just kind of said,
Yeah.
one day they're just
I think it's
talking and they're like,
sisters.
yeah, we're gonna do this. When we have kids, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, and like my aunt in Edmonton she lives in Sherwood Park, so just outside of Edmonton. She lives on a farm. And so like little Ajax me, who's like scared of every bug, like they sent me to the farm and like I got to drive the tractor and it's like I was like living like a farm experience for however long that trip was. And then I think having sisters, my middle sister is probably like, hey, 2 years later, I want to go too. And then it just kind of started with all the cousins.
What's interesting to me is, the environment that we grow up in, and, it often shapes how we tell ourselves the story of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so to me, it's like it was really positive for you guys in your experience. Right. So it kind of dovetails me into the next part of our conversation about your early identity. And we're kind of touched on it a little bit. Right. But when you think about your younger self, how did you see yourself? Because you also grew up in, sorry, if I may, you also, you just identified that you grew up here in Ajax at that time. So, was it very multicultural? Was it, you know what I mean? Were you one of the only Black families? Like, how did you see yourself? And maybe that didn't bother you. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember noticing I was Black because of teachers, but I don't remember noticing I was Black because of students. Growing up, I had a very diverse group of friends in elementary school. My best friend was Greek. Her family and my family were friends. We spent a lot of time at each other's houses. So when she was having Greek Orthodox, we would go over for their dinners when when she would come with me to church. Like, you know what I mean? I also had one of my best friends who I was just with recently. She's Muslim. And so we grew up with both very strict parents. So we both weren't allowed to go to the school dances. We both weren't allowed to celebrate Halloween. So that like culture was like so shared growing up, is going into high school. So I don't know if I had or maybe I don't remember a whole lot of difficulty that way, but I do remember with teachers and the standards that teachers set differently, or some favoritism that teachers set differently between white students and students of color. And I do feel like growing up in Ajax in like the 90s and 2000s, I went to Lincoln Avenue Public School. It felt multicultural because then I went to Pickering High School, which felt multicultural. And then when I went to university, that's when I'm like, oh, I'm Black. Like I felt it heavily. I struggled a lot in university because I had a very high self-esteem growing up because I was just like, I don't know. It just didn't, other than teachers, and my mom was stay-at-home mom. My mom was in the school. She was a lunchtime helper, and she was parent watch, or like,
parent teacher association kind of thing.
At recess. She'd come at recess
okay.
and she'd like help with recesses. Those, I don't know what you call them. It's a parent assistant.
Sure.
At recess. So like I feel like I dodged a lot of, I never felt the brunt of any difficulties because I feel like she was there to insulate it.
I can see that for sure.
Yeah, she was
100%.
definitely like there, But I don't feel, I was a very high achiever.
I'd like to unpack that whole university conversation because you went to Laurier, right?
I went to Laurier.
Yeah.
And that was a huge culture shock for me.
Do you know our middle son's there right now?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, second year.
Yeah, I went to Laurier. Now that my friend pointed out the other day, it's a long time ago. I was at Laurier I started in 2008, which I was like, yeah, that was only like 10 years ago. And so my friend was like, no, it's not 10 years ago. It's like way more. But I'm like, we don't need to talk numbers.
Yeah.
It's fine. But yeah, it like, At Laurier, I remember we had like a friend group, and we were like, there was like, we used to say there's like 11 and a half of us that we knew of that were Black.
Yeah.
And we by standards now, it was abuse what we went through at Laurier, and a lot of racism that we went through at Laurier.
Wow.
And I think that the only way I got through that, and I've had to do therapy after university, like all of us actually, because of like what we went through there. But I think because we had each other and we're still quite a unit, that really helped us through our experience.
Was that students and professors?
Students and the institution, like the things that were valued at that institution, the way they handled reports of racism, the way they handled reports of sexism, and just in some classes, like some of the things that were allowed to be said. I just never even fathomed that anyone would think that way. Also, you sometimes you meet people who you're their first Black friend, but meeting like 1,000 people who have never met a Black person before, I'm like, I don't know where everybody else is coming from. This is like not that far out of Toronto. But, when feeling othered for a long period of time weighs on you. And so.
But you stuck it out.
I stuck it out, but I can definitely say like I didn't enjoy myself at university. I enjoyed my friends and I enjoyed like the world that we created, but I didn't enjoy myself learning in that school.
So let me ask
you. And I love learning.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then did you ever contemplate switching institutions?
No, because I think we don't,
I
couldn't imagine like telling my parents that I'm like leaving university. It just didn't feel like.
Well, not leaving university, but Mom, Dad, I want to go to, I don't know, UFT.
No, because I think originally they wanted me to stay home and go to university like close by. And I was like, I'll like apply to York, but I'm not going. Even at Laurier, they didn't even have the program that I actually wanted to study. Mm-hmm. I did a communications degree. But the experience of being away and figuring it out on my own and like kind of, it forced me to take ownership over my problems. Whereas I feel like a lot of my problems were solved for me as a kid growing up, And so I think that it really helped myself and my friends, who also, most of my friends were either Caribbean Black or African Black. It forced us to like be our own family and like figure our stuff out together.
I mean, we could talk about that one like forever.
It helped me grow resilience. I'll put it like that.
Yeah. For sure. I always say that growth occurs at the end of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Right? So you were uncomfortable, but it did toughen you up. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, it taught me a lot. Like, I think that's the first time I learned that police are not always there to like solve the mystery or the problem. Police can sometimes make things worse for Black people. Schools are for learning, but it's also, there's like sometimes a boundary to like even what your professors can teach you based on their experiences.
Correct.
So yeah, it taught me like life stuff. I think before I really like sailed, I didn't have any like street smarts. I think.
Well, sure. I mean, you sounded you were very protected.
Yeah. So I think I definitely.
It just blows my mind that they let you go away, but okay.
Oh wait, can I give you one example?
Yeah.
So there's one time where I know my parents were like, "Oh, like she's different." They came to like move me out of my res, or they came to visit me at my res or something like that. First year, and it was like an evening, and there was like some drunk guy peeing on the sign of my building. And like I opened up the car door while my dad was still driving. And I was like, "Hey, I live here. Stop peeing on my building." And I like closed the door. And my parents were like, Who is that? He's like, oh, sorry. And my parents were both just like, "Oh, okay." Because I just.
Where did you? What was your building?
I was in Bricker.
Okay, Cole was in Waterloo College.
Okay, kind of like It's a bit off campus.
Um,
Is it?
not that far.
Okay.
Not that far. I
But
mean,
is it? It's not on the grounds, is it?
no,
No, no, no.
no,
Yeah.
no, no. It's like across the street.
Yeah, across the street.
You know where the big field is? I guess where they play football.
Football.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
That's Albert Street, I think it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Wow, I haven't thought about that in forever.
Yeah.
I can like picture it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was on Bricker, like right on campus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Objectively, it was fun, but I think that I just really learned about standing up for myself and like,
Yeah.
not letting people walk all over you.
Gotcha.
And that type of stuff.
Gotcha. I'm gonna reel us back into what I thought was a really interesting and question to ask you is, when did you realize that storytelling was where you wanted to pursue? And was that at school, elementary, middle school, high school, university? When was that?
When I realized it was what I wanted to do, so at Laurier, I was an executive on the Association of Black Students, and I started a radio show. Myself and my best friend, we started a radio show called The Basement, still running today. And we started like literally in the basement of, I can't remember the name of the residence. We started it in the basement. Like there was like egg curtains on the wall for sound, and like we just got a bunch of our friends. It was like a bunch of our friends on a Sunday night. It'd be full in here of just like Black students, and we would just talk about things that were important to us. It started in Black History, so I pitched it as like, okay, the school's not doing anything for Black History Month because they wouldn't, and you could have this radio show on Radio Laurier, and like people could tune in. In our first month in February, they had to buy new bandwidth because of how many listeners we had across Canada. And we were like, okay, there's like a thing here. So I like asked them if I can keep it going. We ended up hiring back in the day, vloggers. And like we had a blog, and I was a producer. We had a DJ, the DJ on 2 DJs, 3 DJs. One DJ now is like a big DJ in Toronto, like kind of starting people's careers. Wow. And we would just have people call in. We'd have students from the States call in on Skype.
Come on.
Back in the day. And I was like, wow. And we were telling stories about like campus life and like dating and like talking about, you know, Black history and musicians. And I don't know if you know the rapper Toby. He's like a Toronto rapper. No. He would host ciphers. So we'd have like different artists on campus come and like spit, and like, it was just a great time. And I was like, wow, this is, at first I was just like, I just want to do stuff for like Black students. But I'm like, the stories that we're telling on this are stories that we're all talking about in like our individual small circles. But like, if there's like students in Edmonton that are listening, and then students at the time my sister lived in Ohio, we had Ohio students calling in and talking about their experiences on their campus. And so it felt really unifying. And that's when I'm like, oh, I'm a producer. I'm producing this thing. And we're getting people to like asking kind of like very specific questions to like lead a certain conversation, but then also like filling it in with like stories about like how someone wants to be a musician or an artist, or you know, activities on campus, or people need jobs, like what, you know what I mean? We would be information sharing.
So was that the catalyst then?
That was it. I was like, I love this. I love bringing people in a room, or I love getting people on a call and learning about experiences and sharing it across borders, across, you know, we think we're all alone experiencing this thing at Laurier, but then there's people in wherever that was listening.
What year was it? Like, so what year in university? First, second, third?
I started in second year.
So you were like, what?
I was 19, 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then let's fast forward. You graduate. When did you get your first gig in TV?
Okay, so I graduated and I was like, hire me. And like, everyone was like, what? You have no experience. Because I had a communications degree.
Yeah.
So I went to work on cruise ships. I had some friends who were teachers, and then on their summer breaks, they'd go work on Disney cruises. And so I auditioned to be like this cruise ship host. I was never really trying to be in front of the camera. But I got like a very like camera facing job on cruise ships and like crowd facing jobs. But I think TV, I used to be like on, I don't know if you've been on a cruise before.
No, never cruised.
Oh, okay.
Never.
I mean, you don't have to, but it's a cool experience, I would say, one time.
We want to, but my wife's got this thing with her ears, so
Fair.
yeah.
Yeah, it can be miserable if you're not fully well.
Even though she still wants to go, but
yeah. So when you go in on the cruise, there's someone, you turn on your TV and someone's saying, "Hi, welcome aboard the Who Project Cruise Lines. I'm Camille. I'll be your social host for this. Come meet me at Sail Away Party, and there's 50% off drinks at Sail Away Party. And then tonight we're having the Jonas Brothers come join us in the Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm that person. And then you come to the Sail Away Party, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Camille." And everyone's like, "You're a person from the TV." So I lead people from event to event to event, and that was, I think, my first like on camera. I would also like produce like morning show. Where I'd bring on, to say we'd have, I don't know if you watch a show like That's So Raven.
Yeah.
Okay, you know the dad?
Yes.
He was one of my comedians, and I was like,
come on,
nerding out. But I had him on my morning show, and like we would promote his comedy, because I would also host the comedy club. And I had to learn how to like tell jokes and like, you know, like do a bit, or like, you know, bring on a comedian. So I brought people from experience to experience. That was my first taste of like, this is how people react to jokes. This is how you get people to be interested in something. This is how you get people to spend money. This is how like it's more audience work,
right?
While also kind of like still sales, because you need people to attend and spend money. But that's kind of also what I do now.
So when you were doing that, and how long did you do it for?
I did that for 2 years, and then I went back in 2019 in like a full sales role. But it's essentially like event producing, but it's like also on like your TVs, or on like the big TVs, or producing like media pieces for people to understand what's happening entertainment wise on the ship.
Sure. So at that time, you know, what story were you telling yourself about who you were becoming?
Oof, good question. That job, now I think about it, this is pretty cool talking about this stuff, because it actually makes you think.
Right?
Yes.
It totally does. Because then all of a sudden you start thinking to yourself, shit, I did that.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't believe I did that. It's like you're giving yourself your own flowers right now.
That job requires you to dress a certain way. So when I mean I had to audition, like you have to like audition like it's like an acting gig. At that time I had an afro. They did ask me to change my hair. They asked me to straighten my hair.
No.
Mm-hmm. And this is back in the day before I was just coming out of Laurier, where I'm like, you know, scarred by racism. And so I was like, then I learned how to do my own hair. I learned how to do my own weave on the ship, which is like so hard. But I had to dress a certain way. I was always dressed in like high heels, fancy dress, often like gowns. You had to like kind of embody this character. So I became like a character. And so in that character, I told myself like, I am the most interesting person on the ship, and everyone will want to come to my shows.
You did not.
Yes, you have to. Or else
I love it.
I also learned how to like, I've bombed in a comedy club when I'm like, I have to tell jokes to like bring on a comedian. I don't know how to tell jokes. But like,
how did you do that? Well,
you bomb, and then the people leave, and then there's new people next week, and you don't do the joke the same way the next week. You change it.
Yeah.
Or like, if this dress didn't work, you know, I would have to like dress myself, and I still do this, put myself together in a way where I'm like, everyone's gonna want to come to my trivia, or everyone's gonna want to come to karaoke. I used to DJ in a nightclub. They fired the DJ and they asked me to DJ. Everyone's going to want to come to the nightclub with me because we're going to have this. I used to do weddings. Everyone's going to have a great time at this wedding because I am you have to convince yourself, or else like, I don't know how to officiate a wedding. I don't know how to DJ in a nightclub with CDs. Not even like press play on a computer. So I think I have to tell myself, and I still do this, that I am the most interesting person, or I am the most capable person, or everyone's going to want to come to my parties, or everyone's going to want to participate.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you what parts of that early identity are still true today. right?
Yeah.
And so do you still have to convince yourself? Like, so
Yeah.
you're about to start a new show, yes?
Yeah.
So do you when that new show starts, do you say to yourself, okay, well, I'm going to be the damn best producer on this show? Do you do that?
It's more so like, I can't wait to meet my new cast and they can't wait to meet me too.
That's the story you're telling yourself.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm really good at what I do, and like the cast will eventually really just, I won't even have to go to them. They'll want to come to me. And I think sometimes that stops there. You know, sometimes when you're like really desperate for something and you're like leaning in a bit too much and then it makes that thing lean away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that stops that, because that can happen too. If you're too overconfident, then you go into too much pizzazz and then people are like, whoa.
Yeah.
But I think that in entertainment, you have to think more of yourself, because people are so quick to like humble you. And if there's not time to be humbled, you have to, or else you don't survive. Like,
it's a tough business.
Yeah. And so I think, especially like, I say this all the time, like, I'm short, I'm a woman, I'm Black. And most of the environments I go into are big, tall white men. And so if I don't come into it with like, yeah, let's do this. Of course I know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. Of course I know how to do this. And then like you let people be great at the individual things they do around you, and then treat them with respect and like are thankful for their work and like, you know. But it has worked for me to just tell myself that I've already, like, this is already gonna be great.
Okay.
Or else, because I think growing up, I was pretty shy, so I think standing in front of crowds or like directing crews is not natural to me. Yeah.
So was there a moment in your career when you saw yourself starting to be challenged? Because it sounds up to this moment like you kind of found your lane.
Yeah, it was still challenging though. Like as much as when I tell you I like literally look myself in the mirror. Do you watch Insecure with Issa Rae? How
No.
she raps at herself in the mirror. I'm like that. Like she does it in the form of a rap. I don't know how to rap, but like it's challenging for me to like go and be everybody's leader or stand in front of a TV and deliver lines or whatever, back when I worked on ships. Sorry, what was the question again?
I said, was there a moment in your career when you saw yourself being challenged?
Oh yeah. When I worked in animation, I think like the common thread of challenge is based on race. And based on being a woman in male-dominated spaces. In male-dominated spaces where ideally they want women to be in the space and they want diversity, but like not really. Not as their manager. Kind of just like there, you know, but like not doing too much.
Okay.
And so I feel like there's been a lot of like tension as I've risen and then have been the person to tell, you know, being a manager of people, and having to earn respect. That's always been a challenge. Creatively, I had a really good friend she was my creative partner, and it would to take the edge off of like our day jobs in creative, you know, industries. We would create stuff together. We would write together. We would, you know, we were able to be each other's creative outlet. She passed away quite suddenly. And so I feel like that shook me because that took away like the fun of the creative, you know, because then you have someone who you're vibing with and you're creating stuff. We pitched Issa Rae before, she's amazing. She was amazing. And so I had to learn how to find the creative joy in my work again alone, when I was used to having somebody since pretty much the beginning with me. Because it is a bit of a lonely industry, you know.
That leads me to you know, the question, did you ever feel, you know, do I belong here?
Absolutely.
right?
And as my best friend, as my best creative partner, she's also a Black woman.
Mm.
We both helped each other feel like we belonged. And almost every show I go on, I feel like, do I belong here? That's a kind of a never-ending question.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know.
Unless it's my own stuff, and I'm like, and then I hire people who I feel like could really benefit from being in. I think I run my sets really well. I want everyone to feel seen, no matter what role they have. Like, I don't think there's any hierarchy. I'm very best idea wins. But yeah, I think it's important to make people feel seen and heard, because I think you don't do this type of work because you like, no one does this type of work because it's like, oh, this is what I fell into and now I have to do it. Everyone like wants to be here.
That's interesting what you just said.
It's hard.
It's true. Yeah, there's truth to that.
Yeah, like
there's a lot of truth to that.
I feel like you could, fall into working at a bank. Like, no offense to anyone who works at a bank, but like, you could just like have a job at a bank. I think it takes a lot of work and effort to work in entertainment.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
And so
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
If I had to ask you earlier in your career who you believed you were becoming, how is that different from the person you see today?
Early on, I believed I was going to create TV shows. I wanted to like make TV shows. I thought I was going to make like the coolest animated TV show and work. Yeah, I thought I was going to be like a show creator, just like churning them out. I have like a lot of ideas. I think now I work on people's ideas. I don't work on my own. Every now and then I do my own thing. But
okay.
I didn't ever expect to be an unscripted producer.
Sure.
I loved reality TV. I loved documentaries, but I just kind of always thought like, oh, I got to work in kids TV, and I started in kids TV. That's where all my when I went back to school, that's where all of my my network was. That's where my classmates ended up. I don't know if I ever really thought about what I would be, because I feel like my journey has been very kind of like all over the place.
Well, yeah, it's never a straight line, right? It's like zigzags.
Yeah, but I do think, like, when I think now, I do think my younger self coming up would be very impressed with where I'm at now.
You said something that's interesting to me, because you're creative, because that was the goal. Is that a complete departure now, or are you saying, okay, well, I've got to earn a living, so I'm gonna be a producer on these shows? Do you have any in your back pocket that you want to do?
Yeah, and I just mentioned my friend. Her name was Amelia. I stopped pitching when she passed away, and that's something that I'm working on now. Just like getting back into it, because it almost feels like I shouldn't continue on without her, but to honor her, I should start again and complete some of the ideas that we had and complete some of my new ideas. But yeah, I'm an ideas person. Like, I have so many half-done pitches or finished pitches or pitches that I pitched before that I got a little bit of interest in that I stopped. I've done a lot of like incubator writing programs and creator programs and producer programs. Think of a program, I've done it to create a show. But I do think that I've kind of thrown myself into advancing in my kind of day job career. And I've really put that in my back pocket. And I do find it challenging to go back to those ideas.
May I ask how long ago she passed?
In 2022. 2021, 2022.
Okay. So this is really interesting to me, where, I call it the mirror moment, because I think I just heard you say that you want to get back there. So that's going to take that shift. Right? And so like, so how do you get to that shift, right? Like, how do you begin that shift for you? Because you're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you see yourself getting there?
I am I am a queen of an excuse. So like I'm always like, oh, I don't have enough time. Like I'm always working, I don't have time. Just now, I wasn't working full time. I had like gigs here and there. I haven't been working full time from December 5th until mid-February. I had like December, January, mid-February, almost 3 months off. But you would still see me saying, I don't have time to work on my own stuff. And then my partner, he challenges me. He's like, you like literally have time right now. And he's also a writer. So he, it's hard to write a bit of a writer's block or a bit of a creative block. Once you pass it, it flows. And so I'm very good at making excuses as to why it's not the time to go back into it or why, and I have the opportunities. I have the network. It's just getting out of my own way to start again and stop using my day job as an excuse not to create my own stuff.
Would you agree it's because of your friend and you just haven't healed from that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But to honor her, could that be the shift?
Absolutely.
Could that be the moment? Could we have that moment right now where you go, damn, I'm going to do this for her?
Yeah.
It's kind of like me with this podcast room. I was telling you before we recorded. I was like, yeah, I'm going to turn this into a podcast room. And then I did nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then something just happened.
Yeah.
And then I just did it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got a lot to say. I think you got to do it.
Yeah, it's coming. I feel it. Like, sometimes when you have an idea, like you feel, it's there. It's like brewing. I feel it in like my tummy, like this brewing. And it's like, I feel it kind of like coming to the surface. It's really getting out of my own way to be like, let it flow. And it's okay. And it like letting it feel okay to like flow and happen.
So is there one that you have in mind?
Mm-hmm. There's a few.
There's one that you worked on with her?
There's one that before she passed, she had a short film that we filmed it. She had cancer, so she was going through chemo. She had no hair. She was like sick, and like we filmed this short film, and it was about her. So she had ADHD, and it was about kind of like a day in her life, but it was a choose your own adventure. Do you remember those books, choose your own adventure books? Yeah, it's kind of like that, because with ADHD, it's like you can be going to do one thing and then you can get distracted and then another thing happens and another thing happens. So the characters, it's a bit of like a choose your own adventure. I really want to finish that film. It's not edited fully. That's one thing that I want to do. So
you were saying that you want to edit.
Yes, her film. And then she had her slate of her ideas and I had my slate of my ideas, and we'd have like co-working time where we pitch each other,
right,
and like work on it. So I do have some ideas that are still around, some fully formed pitch, some half formed pitches. Those just require the time to sit down and do it.
So I would love to have you back on this show and you tell me that you finished editing the show that you guys were working together, or the film that you guys were working together. I think that would be amazing for you to do that, and get over that hump, if you will, that which is difficult. And I listen, I understand, I completely understand. But you said something that to me struck a chord in me, right? Where it's like to honor her, right, and to honor your friendship. And it was something that you guys did together. I think the best way to do that is to keep moving forward. Don't, and I think also is that life's short. Yeah, absolutely. It is, right? And we can get caught procrastinating, and that's why I love to hear, that moment where you look at yourself and go, oh, I have to do this differently. I have to do something differently. And then you actually go and do it. Because I think to me, like that's representative of like life being so short, and you have to move forward always, because we never know. Yeah. And as I age now, my things, I have these things that I say for a while. I'll be on a tip and I'll say something, right? It's like right now, I keep saying to anybody that's willing to listen, is like the hourglass is flipped and the sand is running out. That's how I'm feeling. Okay. Right. And it's not because I'm paranoid of the end. I'm just like, there's so many things that I wanted to do, like this podcast, for example, right? To have this, to have this show, and to be able to leave people with, with my mark,
Mm.
right? And being able to help people see that, like I said to you earlier, right? That self-perception shapes identity, and identity shapes decisions. And ultimately those decisions, it's how we live our life,
Mm-hmm.
right? So why will we wait? Let's not procrastinate. Let's
Mm-hmm.
let's make that our thing. Like, we're just not going to do that anymore, and we're going to live life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're going to get through it. And yeah, and it's tough, and shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
And it's interesting, like there's things that I've gone through in my life that have really like propelled me forward. And I think her passing was one thing that surprised me, that had made me stop.
Wait a second, you're not as tough as you thought you were.
Mm-hmm.
We're all human.
And I've gone through some tough,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I've gone
Yeah.
through like, but
You're not Teflon.
I've some there are some challenges that like really like push you forward. Some challenges I've been through, awful things that I've navigated, but it changed my life. Like it changed my career, and then this is one that's like creatively like put me on a pause, and I'm trying to figure out what that is.
I get it.
But yeah, I think in hindsight, I'm grateful for the tough things, especially as a creative person, especially as a freelancer, where I don't rely on one job, right? I have to like hustle.
Yeah.
Some of the tough stuff I've gone through like has like upped my hustle. It's like, all right, the drive, some of the toughest times I've had is like the most money I've ever made. And then, it propels you forward to want to like be better for yourself and be better for your people. And like,
I don't think there's any doubt in my mind, or anybody that's going to listen to this podcast, that you're not as tough as nails, because you pointed it out, and you articulated it well, right? It's like you're Black, you're female, and you're in the entertainment business.
That in itself is like,
and there's no nepotism, right? Like there was nobody that got you to where you are.
No.
You did it.
Mm-hmm.
That's so much to be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
That is really, truly a lot to be proud of. Like, so let me ask you this question. What version of yourself are you most proud of becoming?
I would say this version right now. I think I've checked off a lot of things that I've wanted to do. For a long time, I was kind of flailing, I would say. I was just like, what am I doing? Like this like creative, like free spirit, like living this hippie life. I used to not live anywhere. When I wasn't working on a show, I would just travel. People would be like, oh, like what are you working on now? I'd be like, oh, I'm in Mexico, just like figuring it out here. Or like, I'm in Vietnam. Oh, I'm in Cambodia. I'm in Thailand. I'm here, there, everywhere. I went to like Tanzania for like 5 weeks, which is way too long. I should have been back home working, but whatever, hindsight. Like, you know what I mean? I used to like not live anywhere. Now I have an apartment, and it's my first time I'm 36 this year. It's the first time since last July. First time I've ever like had an apartment with a lease on like my own name, where I live somewhere. Where if I come home from a trip, I have somewhere to be. I have a pretty consistent stream of jobs. I've built my network where it's like I feel like I'm well respected. I feel like I do really good work. I feel like I bring a lot to the table. I don't live like a struggling artist lifestyle, which I don't believe in. I have really great friends. I have a really great partner, and I'm just like, okay.
So
I
much
feel
to be happy about.
Really good about like where I'm at now. And if I think back to like young Camille, who's like, I want to be an actress, I want to be a designer, I wanted to be all these like creative things, I want to be a director. I wrote in my yearbook that I wanted to be a TV producer and director, and I'm a TV producer and director.
Drop the mic.
You know what I mean? Like I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And so
good for you.
Sometimes I have to like stop and like be like, yeah, like there's always a hustle of like you can do better and better and better, obviously. But it is nice to kind of sit and be like, okay.
But what does better mean? Like that's the question that I ask myself anyways. Like, yeah, we can make more money and we can be on more things, but how do you balance that, and how do you find fulfillment
That's where
More.
I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I do feel like that little pang of I don't want to hustle like this forever. I'm getting a bit tired. 16-hour days on set,
It's tough.
as cool as it is, we're on like the side of this mountain filming this cool thing. It's like, well, I'm actually really cold. And like there's no bathrooms here. And so like there's a porta potty. Like it's not as glam, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think next steps would to be find like what is like a more senior level of what I'm doing now that doesn't require me to be on the road so much of my year, and that's still that I don't need to be like boots on the ground,
No, I
with
get it.
every crew member and every cast member.
I get it.
All day, every day.
You're thinking forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the part of the conversation where I call it it's the true five, right? And the reason I call it that, or the truth five, and the reason I call it that is because it's a rapid fire as we wind down, and I'm going to ask you 5 questions,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I just want to get your thoughts. Don't overthink them. Just
Okay.
give it to me, right?
Okay.
As it comes to your mind. What does trusting yourself look like in your life today?
Following my intuition, trusting my intuition. Being a freelancer, there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions on what you should be doing and what you should be working on. And but my intuition tells me these days I'm no longer necessarily interested on the type of show I work on, but I'm interested in the type of people who are working on the show. So if my intuition is telling me like I'm not vibing with like a certain energy of the folks that I know, I can't do it because it's going to cost me mental health. And mental health is expensive because I have to go to therapy and like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's definitely trusting my intuition based on like what I know. Like I do this now. I'm not a junior.
I love
you
that
know?
answer because
Mhm.
there's a lot of weight in that. There's a lot of weight in that. What core values guides most of your decisions?
I don't know where this is from, but I heard someone say like clarity is kindness. I really value someone who's very clear with me, and I really value being clear with people that I interact with and I work with. And then that's also like hand in hand with like lead with integrity. And I think that's maybe a bit cheesy to say sometimes, but like as a freelancer, it's very easy to like, and I work in reality TV. It's very easy to kind of like, I know how to like manipulate people to make them do what I want on TV. I know how to do that. But I don't think we have to do that to make good TV. I think people are interesting enough to be who they are, and that's what they bring to the show if we cast them on the show. And so with my cast, I'm clear about what I want, and then I just hope that they'd be clear with me. And I'm the same with my coworkers, and try to be the same with my friends and family, because I've seen too much, and I just know now the way that I want to be. And if it doesn't work, then it's not the right opportunity for me.
You know what I love about what you just said is that it took me 50-something years to get there, right? It really did. And it goes back to what I was saying in 23, where I actually wrote and developed my core values as something I'd never done before. I mean, you grow up and you right from wrong, right? But I've never really like wrote my core values. Yeah. But you do live them because that when you have that feeling of being misaligned, right? And something's gnawing away at you, that's because you aren't in alignment with your core values. So for me, it's like, I have an acronym for mine. It's FACT. Family, authenticity, creativity, and trustworthiness. Right? And if they are not all aligned, then to your point, I don't want to be with you. You know what I mean? I don't want to be in that room. Yeah. Right? Or I don't want to spend my time. And what I love about what you just said is that you are much younger than I am, but you figured that out way earlier on in your life. So kudos to you. Hats off for you on that one.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I feel like I figured it out. Entertainment can be really traumatizing if you're in, and I just don't want to spend my time being traumatized.
Yeah. No.
So, yeah.
Facts. What part of your story has shaped you the most?
Oh my gosh. Part of my story has shaped me the most. I think travel. We didn't talk too much about it, but my like rebellion didn't happen when I was a teenager. I think my rebellion happened in my 20s. I like
I
probably
hear you.
stressed my parents out, but I like left to travel the world for months at a time.
Yeah,
And I did
I
it in a
know.
way that looking back now, I'm like, that probably wasn't the safest or the smartest. Sometimes I ran out of money and I was like in my 20s, but I think I love that I have just like these international experiences. It just makes the world like I said when I was a kid, it just confirms to me that like the world is not as big and far, and we're not as different, and our differences are not that different,
True.
And so my job is to work with people now. I produce people.
True.
I produce people in documentary style and like reality style. And so it really made an impact on me traveling and like interacting with people who we don't even speak the same language, but yet we're like sharing wine and having a great time. And so like, it really informs the way I produce.
Hmm. No, it's true. I mean, I was just in London a couple weeks ago, right? As you know, and you go 8 hour flight, and then you go see how other people are living, and you start to realize, like, you, I don't know, travel does this to me every time, but you realize that the world is not as big as we think it is, and most of us are just doing the exact same thing every single day,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just trying to get on with it.
Yeah.
This thing called life. Kudos to you for doing that traveling. Wow, man! Like, you listen, it's something that we have to do on our back end, right? So we are ticking boxes as we go. What limiting beliefs did you have to let go of as you grew, as you know?
Um, so I think that I'm still letting go of is that I'm not ready for that yet. Like I'm not experienced enough for that yet. I think I hear it's like a thing that women do, but I think we feel like we have to get so much experience. I'm not experienced for that yet. I don't have enough experience. But what I'm realizing is that like I work with some people who have no experience, but they're just like either get put into a certain position and they're figuring it out. A lot of stuff is figure outable. You know what I mean? You can figure it out. Some stuff is not. You do need the training, you do need the groundwork. But how much groundwork do you really like? Do you need years of groundwork, or do you just need like groundwork and then you can move to the next
It's
level?
the story you're telling yourself.
Yeah. I used to tell myself that I need more experience. I need more experience. And I think that that's why I went traveling for such long periods of time too, because I was also not sure of like what experience I needed. And it was easier for me to be away and just like disassociated from it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then when
Totally
I come
get it.
back, I hustle and burn myself out getting that groundwork and then have to go away again. So I really have to tell myself, like, no, you look myself in the mirror and talk to myself in the mirror. No, you deserve to be here. You've done the groundwork. I'm now like 10 plus years into my career. You're not a junior anymore. You can't work for free anymore. No, you can't just. A lot of people pitch me their stuff or they want me to like read their stuff or help them write. And I would love to help, but I can't. I'm not junior. My time is worth money. So yeah, it's a daily struggle that I have to tell myself.
Yeah, and I think this is why this idea that I'm digging at, it's like it's like a scab I'm picking at, right? When it comes to self-perception, because we tell ourselves the story like, I can't do a podcast, I don't have enough experience, like I don't know how I'm going to do this, right? It's the story we tell ourselves, and I'm glad that you can see that you don't have to tell yourself that story anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm transitioning into directing now. I direct. I'm a director. But I've only recently started calling myself a director. Like
You're owning it now.
yeah, like publicly. because it's like, oh, I'm not really a director. I haven't directed like this type of thing. I've directed network TV before, but maybe it's not been like a primetime TV show. But I'm still a director because like I've directed, like,
100%.
I direct projects. I just directed a project in December, but still in my head, I'm like, but it's not like that type of director.
It's the story you're telling yourself.
Yeah. And so recently I had an opportunity where I was in an interview and they're like, what do you want to do? And I was referred as a director and I said, oh, I want to produce, but I can direct. And I was like, wait a second, no. And I got upset at myself that I didn't lead with, I want to direct this episode. And that's what this interview is for. I like padded it with like, I'm a producer, but then I also like direct. You know, I have to learn how to become comfortable with, I have the experience.
Yes, you do. You just got to step into it, right? And own it.
It catches you every now and then, you know?
What superpowers helped you most in your career? If you could identify one of your superpowers.
I'm incredibly adaptable. I can kind of morph into a space and like pick up and go. And I think because I've traveled a lot and I didn't travel very like luxuriously. Sure. You know, I've been in some sticky situations sometimes, or I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but during COVID, I spent COVID for almost a year in Peru.
No, you did not.
I was stuck in Peru. I couldn't leave the country. And I had to like, the first few months, you know, it's like, okay, it's vacation. But then I had to like adapt to like, okay, I live here. Like I have to figure out how to do this and do that and transportation, da da da. And like I like adapted to this like tiny town that I was living in because I couldn't leave the country during.
By yourself?
I was with a previous partner at the time.
Okay.
My parents were like freaking out.
Well, yeah.
But there's like nothing. There's at a certain point, it's like, okay, this is your reality, and I find that my adaptability, is what gets me a lot of jobs, and like opens a lot of doors, and like my willingness to like be open to different types of people, and even as a producer, like not everybody's likable, but I can be adaptable to connect with someone who's not the most likable and like bring story out of them. And I think I admire that about myself. And I didn't know that was a superpower until, you know, I've had to kind of step back and be like, oh, there are actually some people who turn away from people that, oh, I don't like them. But it's like our job. It's not our job to like people. It's our job to like bring story out of them. It's not our job to like, oh, I don't like working with this person. Well, we're here for 16 hours. We have to work together. Oh, I don't like hot weather. Okay, but like we got to get the show done. So like, you know what I mean? So it's like, yes, you know, things are uncomfortable, but I think it is a superpower to be adaptable.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Final question. Mm-hmm. What story do you believe you're still in the middle of becoming?
In the middle of becoming.
You just told me, but I'm going to leave that up to you. So what do you think?
So the person that I'm in the middle of becoming, I think I'm at an interesting time in my life right now where I'm turning 36 this year. I'm not married and I don't have kids. And I'm like on fire in my career. Like I'm like excited about it. And I'm excited. I'm like on the precipice of like doing like elevating. And then those things are kind of like in my peripheral.
Right.
But I can't wait for like, I'm like really excited for like the next version of myself, which I think maybe might include being a parent or having a family. But I think that like, because I didn't expect to be where I am now, I'm kind of excited for a bit of like unknown. That's and I also work in unscripted. And like most times we don't know what the end of our episode is going to be like. We can like kind of plan for it, but I kind of like the fact that I'm kind of like setting the building blocks right now for like what I want, what I have in mind.
Okay.
But I feel myself, you feel yourself in like a season of change. I feel myself in a season of elevation. I'm like having the conversations. I'm like asking the questions. So I don't necessarily know what the story I'm in the middle of is, but I think that there's like, I feel excited about it. I feel very optimistic about it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Camille, thank you for sharing your story and being a part of the conversation. This is one of my favorites, so I'm really looking forward to getting this one out, and everybody else can hear what I just heard. So every episode of the Who Project reminds us that the way we see ourselves is not fixed. It evolves.
Yeah.
And when that self-perception shifts, it can change the direction of our entire life. So I'm really excited to see what this next chapter is for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. What I loved about today's conversation is how clearly it shows that self-perception begins with where we come from. Our families, our cultures, our early influences, they shape the way we see ourselves. As we grow, that perception can either strengthen or shake our ability to trust ourselves. So here's a question to reflect on. How does your family story still shape the way you see yourself and the way you trust your own voice? Trusting yourself doesn't mean being perfect. It means believing you're worthy of your own choices, even when the outcome is uncertain. Thank you for listening to the Who Project podcast. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who's learning to trust themselves too. And remember, on the next episode, we'll explore another pillar of the truth framework. Until then, keep listening to your voice, keep living your truth out loud, and remember that your self-perception is your superpower.